You are obviously someone that very openly helped elect the president.
Very
And
openly, yeah.
yeah, you had the Trump commercial. I remember that.
Yeah, man.
But so I
Basically, George Call commercial. It
George
was not
Call.
a Aska or
Yeah.
Banshee, any of the bands I'm in. It was just something I felt called to do.
No, I gotcha. But here's the thing. So obviously, the way that post was put, and some of the comments and stuff like that. How did you feel about that when you saw that? As somebody that voted for him, what were your thoughts on them doing that? Because I've never heard of a band doing that.
Yeah, I thought it was the biggest pussy move that I've seen in a long time, and I've seen some real douche moves from bands.
Yeah,
I mean, especially during the COVID era, I've seen some real douchey bands out there do some real douchey stuff.
yeah,
And in retrospect, when you look back on it, you see the level of hypocrisy that some of these bands engaged in.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of soy that these guys use one of your favorite terms, right? That they sweat out of their pores, to make some of the moves they made. I mean, they really, if they're not embarrassed today, then they have no sense of irony, no sense of shame.
Yeah.
No sense.
I get it. The thing is that there's a lot of people that think like that over there that are actually, legit have fears of stuff like that, and I already said in the podcast episode I did, it's the wrong decision. But, again, for you, were you like, I don't want to use the word offended, but did it piss you off? Or you just kind of like, do you think that they probably burned a bridge over here? How do you feel about that? Because again, you're going to have people that are going to support it. You're going to have people that are going to obviously bash them for it. My whole episode was really explaining where they were coming from. I disagree. I disagree with the decision, and I'll tell you why when you give me your thoughts on it. But
I'll tell you this: my thoughts are, I don't hate them. I don't know them.
Yeah.
But, and is it something that maybe someday they can move beyond or they can get past? Of course, there's nobody here holding grudges. Some people hold grudges, but Americans generally aren't. We're not like that, and we're men. Men aren't like that. I think men, like two guys, can tell each other to fuck off to each other's face, and the next day they're having a beer together. Women tend to be real catty, like I'm not going to talk to them for the next 10 years.
I don't know. I think the States has changed a bit with that. But
well, yeah, you're right. But at least, certainly, it seems that the leftists are like that. I think guys on our side of the equation, we're a bit more live and let live. I don't care what somebody wants to do with their life, how they want to think, do it, man. Knock yourself out. But that move right there, when I look at my band, who was, hey, we've got to go to a place that has mines in the road and the buildings are completely shot up and destroyed, and we're going to go perform there. Where do we sign? How soon can we get there?
Yeah.
That speaks volumes of difference between some supposed heavy metal. When the word heavy metal, it's supposed to be tough and strong, powerful. And you're going to like a Michael Jackson, Milli Vanilli style. That's the attitude that's given off when you say, I'm not going to, because it's so dangerous. They have a new president and he's mean. He says mean things. And come on, man.
Oh, no, I get it. So I'm going to give
where's the testosterone?
I think politics aside, let's throw politics out for a second here.
But it was totally political.
Yeah. I'm not, the thing is, first of all, I've known those guys a long time. They're good dudes, as I've said. But let's throw politics aside for a minute, and I'm going to tell you why it's a mistake. because they don't regret it. And look, you know what? I'm going to give them respect for the fact that they doubled down on it. They didn't go and like some of these people, oh, I regret it, even though we got some backlash. They doubled down on it. You know, I disagree with the decision, but they at least didn't, go back and say, oh, we regret that. We're not going to do, you know what I'm saying? You know how that goes. Someone says something, they get called out, and then they apologize. So they're not going back on it. But here's where it hurts bands like this, because here's what happened. So they're playing Prague Power, which is not an easy festival to put together. You have promoters there who had to pay a lot of money for the visas and who had to promote that show. And you obviously had people who bought a ticket specifically to see them, right? Now, maybe they didn't burn the bridge with, let's say they didn't burn the bridge with the Prague Power people, because I don't know anybody there, right? But here's the thing. German heavy metal bands, as a history, it has been very difficult for power metal bands or hard rock bands from that area to gain an audience here. I mean, I believe it took except like 5 albums to really become a band that was a household name. Scorpions, the same thing. Love it. I mean, I think they really heavily invested in them up until Love It First Sting came out in like 1984 for them to become as big as they were, right? But the thing is, we live in a climate now where, a lot of these European bands, and they come over here, a promoter has to take a risk, on that band, an investment of time, money, energy, all that stuff. And then what happens is when somebody sees that, maybe they don't burn the bridge with that festival, but promoters, especially in today's day and age where we have the cost of touring skyrocketing, you're going to have far fewer people that would take a chance on a band like that because of something. Because here's the thing: if you put in all that time and energy and investment, and then a politician does something they don't like, and then all that is gone, So from a business standpoint, because most bands from over there, they don't talk about their political views, right? I mean, I can tell you flat out, I know bands over there that agree lockstep with you and me, and I know bands that don't, but they say nothing about it, right? And I respect them for the fact that at least they didn't go back and say, yeah, we made a mistake or we regret it. They're not going back on what they said, which actually, if you apologize at that point, the 50% of the people you didn't piss off are going to hate you. Then 100% of the people hate you. Right. So, but I get it. I think it was the wrong decision, but you got to look, but from the business standpoint, it's not a good look, right? I mean, that's how it is. I mean, it's just how it is, right? So
people they become they won't want to get their feet wet with you again because they're like, oh, are they going to cancel because
right? And that's
market or the politics or set them off. It's who wants to invest tickets and time and promotion and money.
Well, that's and again. We live in a very volatile environment to tour, and that from the cost standpoint, so that's, the only thing I'll say that really was a positive, that post had a record amount of people as far as interactions. And it's the old, and I know you're a Kiss fan, dude. It's the old Gene Simmons adage, it's like when the Kiss caskets came out, Gene did not care if he sold one of them. But Kiss making an album equals 100 articles, a casket, whether he sells it or not, 700 articles. And if nobody is talking about you, good or bad, you are irrelevant. I don't think that was their intention, but that happens. But this is why I love Gene Simmons. Even if you're not a Kiss fan, a lot of people hate him, but he had that mentality. So, I mean, from that perspective, they benefited a little bit, but I think that I agree. I mean, I think it's a bad decision. Yeah. No,
it's always, in my band, I've always had this attitude. It's better to play than not to play. And say, well, even if the gig is a shit gig, it's a horrible club. It's a bad PA. It's a terrible, it's better to play than not to play, because when you play, guess what? Your name is out there somewhere. You're being advertised. You're being seen. Talk about versus well, we didn't want to do that show because I actually faced when I was in Cloven Hoof and we were touring Canada. We had a band in one of the major cities out there. I think it was Ottawa. A band refused to play with Cloven Hoof because they'd heard, some of the politics of the guys in the band, and we don't want to be associated with those guys. So, well, guess what? The opening spot that they gave up was filled in less than 2 minutes by bands that said, I don't give a shit what they think or do or worship or fuck or whatever. I don't care. We want to play. So the guy just trying to make his stand on, make his political stand. Nobody even knows who. I couldn't tell you who that band was today because they didn't play. Nobody knows who they are. Nobody cares. And so they stood to their guns and they stuck by their politics. But who cares? Because nobody knows who they are.
Yeah.
Whereas the other band came on board, came out and played. We made friends with. We kept in touch with. Traded discs and everything. And just had a good time. And then they missed also at that show. I remember we had people from other bands that came out there and came on stage with us, and it was just great. Fantastic show. They really missed out. It could have been something special for them, but they chose not to.
Hey everybody, Tony here from the Metal Command podcast. Again, I appreciate your support. Since 1998, I have hosted this show in one form or another, starting off in radio and now in the podcast format. Again, thanks for watching. And if you like what you see and hear on this show, by all means, please hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell to be notified anytime I do post a video. And if you see this program on any other form of social media, please give me a follow there. Again, I always appreciate your support.